friends. I hope you're doing well. It's Frankie Rose. Welcome to Crime Updates. Today, I thought we would talk about Rachael Leigh Anderson, who's been missing since April 2010. I know it's a little bit different for me. It is an older case, but her family is still searching and they want to have her home. I just cannot imagine the nightmare not knowing where your loved one is. Rachael Anderson was born in June 1969 in Clarkston, Washington. At 40 years old, she was the mother of 2 boys and 2 girls. And at the time, she was going through a separation from her husband, Charles Capone. Another Capone. They were married in September 2009, but just 3 months later, Rachael filed for divorce on April 16th, 2010. She went to Charles Auto Repair Shop in Moscow, Idaho, to check on her car that he had been working on. Sadly, she has not been heard from again. She was last seen on the Friday, and Rachael's daughters reported her missing on Monday after she didn't show up for work at a pathology lab. On April 21st, her car, a white 1997 GMC Yukon, with the plate number 1-93131, was found at a Dynamart station in Lewiston, Idaho, close to the Greyhound bus station. And her cell phone and purse were located inside of her car. So the loving mother and grandmother seem to basically have just vanished into thin air. And the family is now left with a ton of questions. So there's been a large search. Rachael was not found. Slowly, the days did turn into weeks, months, years. The hope for justice started to look very, very bleak. But all of that kind of turned around 3 years after she went missing. Pretty much immediately, they were looking at Charles. In the time leading up to her disappearance, Rachael had filed multiple complaints with the law enforcement about being harassed and stalked by an unknown individual. This person had broken her car's back windshield, had slashed her tires, watched her house, and sent her very disturbing messages and phone calls. Rachael was literally so scared that she bought a gun for herself. When Charles was questioned, he admitted that it was him making the harassing phone calls, but denied everything or anything to do with her getting gone. Rachael was literally afraid for her life. Certain things began about 3 months before she disappeared, and it's believed that Charles, again, was possibly responsible. She talked to the police about the stalking on the day of her disappearance, and they told her to avoid him because it sounds like he might become violent. Charles Capone was arrested on a weapons charge in May 2010. He has a very extensive criminal history that dates back literally to 1985, with a very strong history of violent behavior towards women. As a convict or a felon, he is also not to have guns. Rachael's daughter said that he was abusive and a controlling husband, that Rachael had filed harassment charges against him in December 2009, when Charles, allegedly choked Rachael and was charged with second-degree assault. I have to say, I don't really know how they come up with some of these charges, like attempted murder maybe? I don't know. After Charles' arrest, he was named a person of interest in Rachael's disappearance. He later pled guilty to unlawful possession of a firearm, and he did get 33 months in the Hooskow for that. Charles Capone and his friend David Stone were charged with Rachael's murder in 2013. April, I do believe, of 2013. They brought in cadaver dogs that indicated the scent of human remains in the back of the Yukon, the GMC Yukon, which Rachael had borrowed to drive while he was fixing her car. So blood was found, both Rachael's and Charles', on the very tip of a black latex glove that was in that Yukon. In 2010, a person came forward and said Charles had offered him $10,000 to kill Rachael. While he was in jail, after his weapons arrest in 2010, Charles, allegedly said to his cellmates that he poisoned Rachael by putting prescription sleeping pills in her beer. And then he said he buried her body. Unreal. Charles had a very lengthy criminal record. As we know, going back to 1985, convicted of aggravated assault, attempted armed robberies. 2009, he was charged with secondary assault when he did try to strangle Rachael, pled guilty to the guns, and as this came together, still no sign of Rachael. But 3 years after she disappeared, Charles and David Stone were arrested in relation to her murder. They believed that Charles killed his ex-wife, estranged wife, I guess, and David helped him dispose of the body. It was said that the two of them had an agreement to kill each other's wives. One of David's former co-workers told police that David once asked him to kill his wife, Elisa, but David later put it off because the plan he had with Charles and decided to kill each other's wives. Elisa had a large life insurance policy on her. David agreed to plead guilty to lesser charges and testified against Charles Capone. He said that on April 16th, he saw Charles choke Rachael. He then said that Charles started to threaten his family. So he basically did as he was told. David helped Charles put Rachael's body inside the back of the car and covered her body with garbage bags. After ditching her car, where it was eventually found, they drove her body to a bridge and dumped it into a local river. David said they weighed the body down with heavy snow chains. Those are massively heavy if you've ever seen them. David said he was a born-again Christian and just wanted to do the right thing now. Alrighty then. There were prison inmates who spent time with Charles, and they testified that he had said things such as he wasn't coming back, she wasn't coming back, and that Rachael was buried so deep that she would never be found. A cadaver dog did detect human decomposition in the car Rachael was driving that day. Both Rachael's and Charles' DNA was found on that black latex glove on the tip. And that was, remember, in the car. The glove matched. This tip was later found in Charles' truck. Well, isn't that interesting? In September 2014, Charles was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He received an extra 20 years for being found guilty on counts to failure and to report to a death, and failure to report a death to law enforcement, and conspiracy for failure to notify law enforcement of a death. David pled guilty to not reporting a dead body to the police and was sentenced to 3 to 7 years. Wow. In prison with his time served. Charles continues to say he's innocent throughout this entire period. It's so frustrating to know that people are not telling the truth. And because they're not telling the truth, there's more questions. In 2018, his request for a new trial was rejected, and that is in prison records, and he is still in the Idaho Correction Center in Kuna, Idaho. Enjoy your new home. Rachael lived in the 200 block of Main in Clarkston, Washington at the time of her disappearance, and some agencies are saying she went missing from there. Clarkston police are investigating her case still, and foul play is suspected. So she's been missing since April 16th from Moscow, Idaho. Her classification is endangered and missing. She is white, born on June 11th, 1969. She was 40 years old. She was 5'4" and 120 pounds. They believe she had a ring on her right finger with a set of 2 opals and a space for a third one to go in. The vehicle that was associated with this was the borrowed white 1997 GMC Yukon, which the license plate number, which we talked about earlier, now they've got that. She is female, black hair, brown eyes, pierced ears. So that's what we have on Rachael. This is an older case, but you know what? Rachael's family is still wanting answers and to bring her home. There is someone out there that knows answers and, do the right thing. I truly hope that they do the right thing for Rachael and her family. Basically, if you see something, say something. So, for now, friends, I'm going to say thank you for spending this time with me. I truly do appreciate you. So cheers, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.